The shocking truth: CEO never smiled for 20 years until this secretary sang at midnight. In a world where fortunes are made and lost in whispers, one man stood as an unyielding fortress. The CEO of Titan Industries, Harold Finch, hadn't smiled in 2 decades. His face was like granite, molded by years of relentless pressure and deep-seated secrets. Rumors swirled like autumn leaves in the wind, each one darker than the last. Was he cursed? Had he struck a deal with the devil? People would stare as he passed, their eyes wide, fingers pointing in hushed gasps of disbelief. The man who could command empires, yet never cracked a grin. What kind of soul was that? Harold's office, perched atop the gleaming Titan Tower, was a cave of shadows. Cold light flickered against the walls, each flicker hinting at the stories kept hidden within. Employees spoke of strange sounds echoing through the halls late at night, unearthly whispers sneaking into their dreams. Some claimed to have seen figures, flickering like candle flames, darting past the glass windows, their identities forever cloaked in mystery. Yet, it wasn't until a rainy Tuesday night that everything changed. The clock struck midnight, and Amelia, the new secretary, decided to stay late. She sifted through the bureaucratic jungle of paperwork, the rhythmic patter of rain against the window holding her captive. But an inexplicable urge crept inside her, a whisper nudging her to sing. So, she did. Her voice floated through the empty office, light and airy, like a lullaby chasing away shadows. As the melody curled around the sterile space, something shifted. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out. The earth trembled beneath her, and the lights flickered ominously. Amelia stopped mid-chorus, adrenaline flooding her veins. What was happening? Her heart raced, and she stood frozen, eyebrows knit in shock. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echo of her voice seemed to awaken the building, bringing it to life. Then, the door swung open, and Harold Finch stood there, silhouetted against the flickering hallway lights. His expression, it was different. There was a softness in his eyes, an unfathomable depth. Slowly, a smile began to creep across his face, breaking the dam that had held back 20 years of misery. But what did it mean? Why now? As Amelia's pulse quickened with a mix of trepidation and thrill, the question hung in the air like electricity: what secrets would come pouring out from the cracks of the Titan's facade, now that the first smile had broken through? The chambers of Titan Tower felt electric, charged with an energy neither Amelia nor Harold could fully comprehend. The smile on Harold's face, so unfamiliar, flickered like a candle caught in a gust of wind. Amelia's breath caught in her throat, an uneasy mix of curiosity and fear gripping her. What had awakened in him? Was it merely the sound of her voice, or something deeper, something that lurked in the corners of their corporate world? Who are you? Harold's voice, raw and cracked, echoed off the walls. It was a question mixed with confusion, as if he were grappling with a reality he had played no part in. "I'm Amelia, your new secretary," she stammered, fighting to maintain composure. The oppressive atmosphere of the room wrapped around her like a heavy cloak, and yet she felt a strange urge to lean in. There was something compelling about the man standing before her, despite the shadows lurking in his past. "You sing," he said, his gaze sharpening, something flickering behind his eyes. "You sang." I haven't felt anything like that in years. She didn't know how to respond. Should she admit how the darkness of the place had stirred her? The whispers? The haunting sounds? Instead, she simply nodded. The mood shifted suddenly, and the lights flickered again, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance against the walls. "I need to know what's been hiding in this building," he said, stepping closer, no longer a specter but a soul searching for light. "You felt it, didn't you? The whispers?" Amelia swallowed hard. Her chest tightened as she recalled the tales of her co-workers, the stories of ghostly figures and echoes in the night. "Yes, I've heard them." "Follow me," he said abruptly, turning on his heel, his earlier softness replaced by an urgency that made her heart race. She hesitated for just a second, then steeled herself. Was she following a man who had just smiled for the first time in decades or chasing echoes of dread? They walked through the darkened halls, shadows stretching long around them, until Harold led her to a door marked restricted access. It loomed like a tombstone, a barrier between them and the truth. As he slid the keycard, the locks clicked grudgingly in response, the sound reverberating like a mournful sigh. "What's in there?" she whispered, her voice a fragile thread on the air. "Everything," he replied, pushing the door open. The smell of dust and stale air hit them, like years of secrets trapped behind the barrier. The light from the corridor spilled into the darkness, illuminating walls lined with cabinets and evidence of a corporate history both sordid and twisted. "What are you hiding, Harold?" Amelia asked, her voice barely a whisper, yet heavy with unsaid words. "What we've been running from," he replied, stepping into the shadows, pulling her along with him. "It's all connected, the whispers, my silence, our truth." As Amelia ventured deeper alongside him, she felt as if they were crossing a threshold from which there was no return. The air shimmered with tension, begging them to uncover whatever sins lay buried in the company's past. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the far corner of the room. They both froze, hearts racing, breaths held. And just as quickly as it had come, darkness engulfed them. A voice floated through the abyss, chilling and familiar. "Welcome back, Harold." What awaited them in the dark? What legacy had the titan of the industry hidden away for all these years? In that moment, Amelia understood this night would change everything. Amelia's heart thundered in her chest, a primal rhythm that matched the eeriness of the room. The voice, shrouded in darkness, resonated with a chilling familiarity that sent shivers down her spine. Who was waiting in the shadows? "Harold, what is happening?" she demanded, her voice quivering as she clung to the fabric of her courage. The light flickered again, casting ominous shadows that tangled around them. As Harold stepped forward, his expression turned into a mask of determination, haunted yet ready. "We have to know what this is all about." He moved deeper into the darkness, leaving a trail of uncertainty behind him. Amelia followed, fear gnawing at her insides. The air grew heavy as they navigated through the room filled with high-tech hardware and filing cabinets that whispered untold secrets. Each step felt like a descent into a forgotten world, and yet she couldn't pull herself away. "Do you trust me?" Harold asked without looking back. There was an intensity in his voice that suggested he was asking more than mere professional loyalty. "Yes, I think I do," she replied reluctantly, though doubt sparked in her mind. The thud came again, sharper this time, reverberating like a heartbeat. Amelia winced, feeling panic ripple through her. "What if we're not alone?" she whispered, glancing around as if the walls themselves might come alive. "There's something here, Amelia." "I can feel it," he insisted, still moving forward. "And you've brought me back to life with your voice. There's power in that. It means something." Before she could question him further, a desk lamp flickered to life at the far end of the room, throwing light onto a scattered array of documents. Papers lay strewn across the surface, revealing names of former employees, some glowing with accolades, others marked with ominous red ink. The sight sent a jolt of realization to her core. "Harold, look!" She pointed. The documents told stories of glory and ruin. "These people, what do they have to do with us?" He approached the desk, his face ghostly pale. "These are the records of everything that has gone wrong in this company. People sacrificed for success, buried under the weight of ambition and greed. They wanted me to forget. Forget what? Amelia's pulse quickened as he rifled through the papers, his hands trembling. Forget them, what they suffered for me to be what I am today. His voice cracked as a shadow flickered in the corner of her eye. She turned abruptly, but nothing was there. Cold sweats trickled down her back. Maybe it's not too late, she murmured, thinking of the spirits, the whispers that haunted this place. Were they trying to warn him? Suddenly, the lamp above them exploded with a deafening crack, showering the room with glass shards. They both ducked instinctively, adrenaline rushing their veins. The lights went out, plunging them into an even deeper darkness. Harold! Amelia cried, reaching for him. Her fingers grasped nothing but air. It was suffocating. We need to get out of here. He shouted, panic evident in his voice, but before they could move, the voice returned just as chilling but now layered with rage. You cannot escape your past, Harold. Who is that? What do you want? Amelia yelled, feeling pressure build in her chest. Show yourself. Harold dared, his voice steadier than she felt. Then, piercing through the pitch black, a cold wind swept through, carrying whispers that twisted around them, pulling at their sanity. The air felt electric, as if a storm was surging within the very walls. Do you want to set the truth free? The voice taunted, lingering like mist in the air. Then you must face the darkness first. Amelia shivered, dread pooling in her stomach. What had they awakened? They opened a door, revealing the past's wrath. Harold, we have to decide. Are we going to confront this or run? She asked, her voice cracking under the weight of the moment. Together, he said, a fierce resolve igniting in his eyes. Just as they steeled themselves, a blinding light exploded in the center of the room, illuminating silhouettes of unearthly figures swirling around them. Amelia gasped, heart racing. A choice had to be made, and time was running out. Are you ready? Harold asked, the intensity of the moment wrapping around them like a noose. As the light dissolved the shadows, revealing the truth that lay hidden, Amelia's mind spun. This was the moment they had been waiting for, yet she could sense their impending doom. What lay ahead in the light? Would they uncover the depths of the darkness they awakened? Or would it consume them whole? The air crackled with potential danger, waiting to spiral out of control. The blinding light engulfed them, casting the room into a surreal tableau that seemed caught between dimensions. Shapes twisted and turned, faces forming and dissolving in the luminous haze. Shadows died, and for a heart-stopping moment, Amelia was caught between disbelief and sheer terror. Harold, what is happening? She whispered, her breath hitching in her throat. He stood firm, muscles taut with determination. Stay close. The light will guide us, but we have to remain together. His voice felt like a lifeline, a promise amid the chaos. As they edged forward, the light morphed, illuminating fragments of memories that hung in the air. Amelia squinted, trying to make sense of the swirling images. She glimpsed a group of employees, laughing in a sunlit office, their joy palpable. But the scene shifted, darkened. Faces turned to mask-like expressions of grief and despair. Look! It's them, she gasped, recognizing one of the spectral faces. But they're sad. Why? Because they were forgotten, Harold replied, voice heavy, as he pointed to a figure in the corner, half-shrouded in shadows. It's as if they're trapped between realms, unable to cross over. The air thickened, and the electric tension was palpable. Amelia glanced back, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon them. What do they want from us? A sudden violence erupted from the corner. The ethereal figures twisted, their voices rising in a haunting chorus. You have awakened us. You must listen. The truth must be known. Panic surged through her. Harold. Are they speaking to us? Yes. They want to share their pain, their stories. He narrowed his eyes, straining to grasp the situation. It's the only way we can move forward. Amelia felt indecision gnawing at her, a clash between instinct and duty. Each whisper echoed like a plea, stirring forgotten emotions within her. But what if we regret it? What if this truth is too much to bear? Or what if it's the key to freeing them? Harold urged, intensity in his gaze. With every second, the urgency pulsed around them. We can't run away. We have to face this. The chilling wind picked up, swirling around them with more ferocity. The spectral figures began to chant, a medley of sorrow lacing the air. She felt the weight of their longing enveloping her, merging with her own fear. It was a bond, and beneath the horror lay a flicker of hope. Together, she heard herself whisper again, and the grip of doubt eased ever so slightly. Together, she echoed to Harold. Suddenly, the room cracked open with a violent gust. Shards of memories blasted through, and Amelia stumbled back, caught off guard. She saw another image of Harold, the younger version of him, smiling, vibrant, sitting with the same group, before the laughter faded into silence. "Those were your colleagues," she yelled, eyes wide in realization. "They're connected to you." Harold's face turned ashen, yet filled with an undeniable resolve. "I need to help them, help us find closure." His voice now firm and clear. "I can't just stand by." With newfound determination, he stepped closer to the light, reaching for the void of shadow that surrounded them. "What do we need to know?" he asked, challenging the very essence of the darkness before them. A wail echoed in response, the sound scraping against their hearts. Betrayed, abandoned, lost. The chorus of voices reverberated, each word laced with anguish. Amelia felt the pulse of dread spiral once more, tightening the knot in her stomach. "Harold, stay with me," he shouted, eyes fierce against the onslaught of grief. "We must confront this together." Against that backdrop of horror, Amelia realized this was it the moment. As the screech of pain morphed into guttural cries, the figures grew restless, swirling in a vortex of light and shadow. She grasped Harold's hand, clinging fiercely, the heat of his grip reassuring amid the chaos. "What if we're torn apart?" she shouted over the cacophony. "Then we find each other again." Harold roared, defying the darkness that threatened to consume them both, and in that pivotal instant, the blinding light surged to an unbearable peak, a force pulling them inward, dragging them into the heart of the storm. As the final echoes of their decision drifted away, a piercing silence fell over the room, the air heavy with anticipation. What lay ahead in this chaos? Would they uncover the truth waiting in the shadows, or would they vanish within the endless agony? Amelia's heart raced. They were on the brink, dancing on the edge of a precipice from which there might be no return. "Are you ready to face the truth?" he breathed, an almost desperate question, and as time stretched, the swirling mists began to pulse rhythmically, ready to unleash what's long been hidden. What monstrosity awaited them in that dark hallowed space? The blinding light intensified, transforming into a storm of swirling colors that clawed at Amelia's senses. Each pulse sent tremors through her body, as if the very air vibrated with unspent energy. She tightened her grip on Harold's hand, feeling the heat radiate from his skin, grounding her amidst the chaos. Then, with a shattering crash, the room around them shattered like glass. Fragments of memories flew past them, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Amelia saw flashes of laughter, betrayal, anger, and grief, a chaotic tapestry woven from lives intertwined yet now torn apart. "See them!" Harold shouted, pointing into the maelstrom. They were faces she recognized, yet etched with sadness and regret. One stood out, his vacant eyes piercing through the chaos. Mike, the once jovial office mate who had vanished into the shadows after the accident. "Why, Mike?" she gasped, her heart sinking. "What happened to you?" The spectral figure hesitated, its expression shifting, a mix of lingering hope and despair. "We trusted. We fought. And then, we were silenced." The voice echoed hollowly, reverberating in Amelia's chest. "You must uncover the truth, it will set us free." "Harold, what if this is too much?" Amelia's voice wavered, the shadows swirling around them growing darker, denser. Doubt clawed at her mind. What if they lost themselves in this web of stories? Fear only chains us, Harold replied fiercely, eyes alight with resolve. We can do this. With that, he stepped forward, drawing Amelia with him. The vortex of faces and images surged around them, forcing her to confront the collective sorrow. She felt the icy grip of despair tightening its hold, but beneath it, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Tell us. She cried into the storm. Tell us what you need us to know. Suddenly, the avalanche of memories coalesced into a single scene. An office filled with laughter turned solemn, the air thick with tension. She felt the confusion settle in her stomach as she recognized the moment Harold's former colleagues had gathered for a surprise celebration, but their faces betrayed the truth. It was a facade. Betrayed, the ghostly chorus murmured, their voices merging into a haunting symphony. They knew the truth but did nothing. Harold, Amelia's voice cut off as the vision spiraled, bringing a different face forward. It was the CEO, a man shrouded in rumors, his steely exterior revealing nothing beneath. The whispers thickened around them, speaking of cover-ups and secrets buried deep. He was afraid, Harold murmured, breaking the chaotic reverie. Afraid of what would happen if the truth came out. What was the truth? Amelia pressed, caring less about her growing anxiety and more about the weight of the tormenting shadows lingering around them. Find the files, before they disappear. A voice cried out, echoing with urgency. They are hidden, locked away in the dark. And then, with a thunderous roar, the light around them collapsed into itself, leaving a luminescent void filled with hidden truths, a labyrinth of secrets. Harold, we can't linger here. Amelia gasped, the weight of the unknown pressing down on her chest. The urgency to unveil the past blossomed in her heart. We need to find the files before it's too late. With no time to waste, they turned, igniting their hope against the encroaching darkness. The memory of betrayal loomed, but alongside it was the determination to set things right. As they stepped deeper into the echo of the past, a chilling whisper curled around them. The moment of reckoning approaches, but beware, there are forces that would kill to keep the truth buried. Amelia froze, a chill racing up her spine. Who else was involved? What were they willing to do to stop them? And could they truly uncover the truth before it swallowed them whole? Together, with their hearts pounding and hands clasped tight, they ventured into the unknown, a path steeped in the shadows of betrayal and secrets that lingered like an insidious fog. And as the pulse of dread quickened, matching their own hearts, the question loomed between them, heavy in the air: would they emerge unscathed, or would the darkness claim them first? Amelia's heart raced as they pressed deeper into the swirling void, the echoes of the past wrapping around them like invisible chains. Each step they took magnified the sensation of being watched, as if shadows were stretching their fingers toward them. She could feel Harold's grip tightening, his breath quickening beside her. Where do we even begin? Amelia whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. The voices of the past swirled around them, pleading, urging, yet she felt lost in the chaos. Follow the pain, Harold said, his voice firm. It's always the spot that hurts the most that leads to the truth. As they moved forward, an image erupted from the darkness, so vivid it felt real. The office, once a place of laughter, now transformed into an arena of silent accusations. She could see her old colleagues, their expressions grim, their eyes reflecting a shared indignation. Why didn't we do anything? A voice broke through. Brittany, a former co-worker, her face twisted in regret. We all knew something was wrong. Harold's eyes narrowed, recognizing the scene playing out. They were afraid, he murmured. Afraid of losing their jobs, their lives, their futures. Fear doesn't justify silence. Amelia's voice was a whisper of anger, igniting a fire within her. She pressed on, navigating through layers of betrayal, desperation sparking a fierce determination. They had to find those files. But what had they really lost? Then, another image collided with them, a darkened hallway, the flickering silhouette of the CEO passing by an office. It was as if they were peering through a window into someone else's life. "He knows," she gasped, her heart pounding faster. "He knows everything. Do you see?" Harold snapped, tugging her toward the vision. "He's hiding something. What do we do?" Amelia's voice was raw, fear dissipating into a desperate need for action. The shadows around them pulsed, almost as if they were breathing, alive with the weight of secrets. "Find the files." A chorus of voices echoed, urgent and pleading, rising to a crescendo that pulsed through the air. "Dig until you uncover the truth that can't be hidden any longer." "Okay." Amelia shouted, emboldened by the collective voices. "But we can't do this alone." Suddenly, like a flash of lightning, a new image emerged, a secret meeting in a dimly lit room. It was the CEO seated with a group of shadowy figures, their conversation shrouded in sinister intent. She strained to hear, feeling the tension mounting, but the noise oscillated, a mix of whispers and low growls. "They can't find out," one voice insisted. The fear rolling off them was tangible. "We must erase everything." "Erase?" Amelia repeated incredulously. What did they want to erase? The shadows enveloped them tighter, their grasp heavy, as if sensing their resolve. Time seemed to distort, seconds stretching into minutes as they hastened deeper into the maelstrom of turmoil. Unspeakable truths lay ahead, yet an undeniable dread coiled around her heart. Suddenly, the whispers broke, a singular voice slicing through the noise. "The key is with the secretary," it said, echoing with eerie clarity. "Secretary?" Amelia echoed, exchanging glances with Harold. "Who? What secretary?" "Midnight meetings at the office," the voice urged, shimmering. She sang the truth but became a target. "Then we have to find her," Harold declared, an edge of urgency cutting through his voice. "We can't let anyone else get hurt." "But what if they find us first?" Amelia's voice tremored. The shadows seemed to be brightening, swirling wildly as if they were alive, and she could almost feel the presence of those who wanted to silence them. The fear that echoed through her spine was unmistakable. They plunged forward into the darkness, hearts pounding, knowing that every moment counted, knowing the deeper they went, the closer they got to the dangerous secrets that loomed ahead. But then, a sudden flicker caught her eye, a glow in the distance, illuminating a figure standing resolutely in the shadows, the haunting silhouette of someone watching, waiting. Fear ripped through Amelia, paralyzing her. Was this the one they had to find? Or a trap waiting to snap shut? "Harold," she gasped, uncertainty threading through her voice. But it was too late. The figure stepped into the light, ready to reveal whether they were savior or predator. And as Amelia's heart raced to keep pace, a chilling thought surfaced: could this figure unleash the very darkness they sought to expose, or would it lead to salvation? The next step could spell doom or deliverance. What truth would they face, and would they be brave enough to confront it? Amelia blinked, her breath catching in her throat as the figure fully emerged from the shadows. It was a woman, familiar yet altered by time and hardship. Her hair fell in messy waves, her clothes tattered as if she had just escaped from a storm. But it was her eyes that captured Amelia's attention, dark pools of pain and secrets, dancing with a glint of defiance. "Are you?" Amelia stuttered, the recognition dawning slowly. "Margaret?" The woman nodded solemnly, her lips twisting into a half-smile, not quite blossoming into joy. "I didn't think anyone would come looking for me. Not after everything." A weight dropped into Amelia's stomach. "You know what's been happening. What the CEO has hidden." Margaret's gaze flickered nervously around them, as if shadows could come alive at any moment. "You have to be careful," she warned, her voice low and urgent. "They're always watching, always listening." "Who?" Harold asked, stepping closer, trying to bridge the trust gap with his sincerity. "The board, the CEO's goons. They'll do anything to keep this quiet." Those files you're looking for, they hold everything, the unanswered questions, the true costs of the decisions made at midnight, she replied, her voice a tremor of urgency. Then tell us where to find them. Amelia pressed, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it. The key to unraveling everything they had fought against. Margaret hesitated, glancing into the dark corners. You don't understand. They want to erase me because I know too much. All will be lost if they discover I'm still alive. The air thickened with disbelief and raw desperation. What do you mean, erased? Harold questioned, dread crawling up his spine. I saw them. I saw the night they planned it all, Margaret confessed, her voice trembling like a wisp of smoke in the wind. The stacks of documents they intended to destroy. The meetings shrouded in secrecy where they sealed their fate and condemned others. That's why we need you. Amelia urged, gripping Margaret's shoulders. You're our last chance. Margaret shook her head, the terror in her eyes unmistakable. It's too dangerous. They've lost their humanity. I can't lead you to your death. Then you'd rather stay hidden, in the darkness, Harold interrupted, his frustration spilling over. How many will have to suffer before you act? The tension thickened like fog, hanging heavy between them. Margaret's expression changed, moving from fear to something deeper. Resilience. This isn't just about me anymore, she finally whispered, glancing at Amelia with newfound resolve. If we uncover the truth and bring it to light. A flicker of hope ignited in Amelia's chest. Then let us do it together. We have to get those files and put an end to this once and for all. Suddenly, a noise echoed nearby, a door creaking open, footsteps growing louder, familiar yet menacing. In an instant, everything changed. Margaret's eyes widened in panic. They're here. She hissed, glancing toward the dark entrance as shadows began to shift. Amelia's pulse quickened. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but they couldn't leave without the truth. We have to move, now. She urged, glancing over her shoulder as the shadows thickened. Follow me, Margaret said, determination lacing her voice. She darted toward a hidden passage that Amelia hadn't noticed before. Just as they slipped into the darkness, Amelia caught a glimpse of figures stepping into the light, men in suits, eyes grim, the very picture of danger. The churning knot of anxiety twisted tighter in her gut. Who could make it out alive? Harold muttered under his breath as they hurried through the passage. Margaret stopped suddenly, her face pale under the dim light. If we get caught, we won. Amelia interrupted, a fierce defiance igniting in her. This is our chance. But just as they turned the corner, a sharp gasp shattered the air. A figure blocked their exit, eyes wide with shock and recognition. It was Brittany, the one who had once been paralyzed by fear. Amelia! She shouted, voice frantic. What are you doing here? But before Amelia could process the tumult of emotions crashing inside her, Brittany stepped forward, face pale as her eyes darted between the group. You don't know what you're getting into. They'll kill you for this. The urgency multiplied, a hurricane of chaos and fear wrapping around them. Amelia's heart raced as she felt the intimate pull of danger creeping nearer. What had they stumbled into, and could they pull away now that they had come this far? Now what? Harold breathed, urgency echoing in his words. What do we do? Amelia's mind raced. The truth loomed just out of reach, but would they be able to seize it before the darkness consumed them all? The stakes had never been higher. Moving forward could mean loss and sacrifice. But returning meant entrapment in a web that had ensnared others before. In the silent moment that followed, they all held their breath, knowing the very next choice would plunge them headfirst into a storm of unknown horrors and possibly salvation. Would they have the courage to confront the truth, or would fear tighten its grip once again? Amelia's heart thundered in her chest as she faced Brittany. The familiar voice triggering a whirlwind of emotions crashing against her resolve. They'll kill you for this. Brittany repeated, her voice laced with urgency. She reached for Amelia's arm, her grip like iron. You need to leave. Now. No. Amelia snapped back, rebuffing Brittany's desperation. If we run, we're giving up. We need to fight back. Margaret, watching the exchange with a mix of fear and excitement, stepped closer. We can't let this be in vain, Brittany. You have to understand what's at stake. They've silenced us long enough. They can't keep doing this. Brittany's face reflected the stark terror that weighed on them all. You don't know what you're up against. It's not just the board, there's something deeper, darker. They're not going to just let you walk away. Harold interjected, his voice steady yet strained. What do you know, Brittany? Tell us. Brittany glanced toward the entrance where shadows twisted. The urgency was palpable, forcing her to choose between caution and the truth. I overheard something, she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. There's a backdoor, a way to get access to the files, but they monitor it heavily. If they catch you, then we'll go in numbers. Amelia insisted, frustration boiling over. We can't let fear dictate our lives anymore. We have to be brave or we'll never make it out. A silence settled upon them, heavy and thick. Each breath felt like a risk, each heartbeat a countdown. Listen, I shouldn't even be here, Brittany said, her voice trembling. But I can't let you walk into that trap alone. I might be able to help. Just promise me you'll be careful. Right now, careful means moving fast, Margaret urged, glancing warily at the shadows creeping nearer. We can't wait for them to come to us. We need to find that back door. With a shared nod, they formed a tight circle, their fear fueling a flicker of determination. Together, they turned to face the unknown challenge ahead, hearts pounding with every step. Time was their enemy. As they wound through the dim passage, the air grew thick with tension. Each sound seemed amplified: the scuff of shoes against the concrete, the rustle of clothing, the pounding in Amelia's chest. Uncertainty snaked through the group, wrapping around their hearts like a vice. What if they've already set a trap? Brittany whispered. Her earlier bravado flickered. You don't understand how far they've gone to protect their secrets. Margaret paused, her hand trembling against the wall. We can't second-guess ourselves now. We have to trust one another. Suddenly, a shriek of laughter echoed from the narrow corridor behind them. A group of suited men materialized at the entrance, eyes sharp and predator-like, their demeanor hungry. There they are. One of them hollered. Get them. A surge of adrenaline shot through Amelia as she grabbed Margaret's hand, pulling her down the dark passage. Run! She screamed, fear igniting a primal instinct within her. They tore through the shadows, the sound of heavy footsteps pounding behind them, growing louder. In the chaos, Amelia's mind raced. Where would they hide? How could they escape? The narrowing path ahead loomed ominous, suffocating them with uncertainty. Turn here. Brittany shouted, veering into a narrow side alley that branched off from the main path. They stumbled into a cluttered room that smelled of dust and secrets. Amelia's eyes darted across the makeshift space. Old crates piled in corners, covered in cobwebs, useless paper strewn across the floor. Is this even a safe spot? Harold breathed heavily, his eyes wide with panic. Brittany shook her head. We can't stay long. They'll check everywhere. In that moment, the room itself felt like both protection and a prison. Shadows danced against the wall, taunting them, whispering of the danger that awaited. Amelia's gaze drifted to Margaret, who seemed to gather strength from the chaos. What's next? She asked, her voice gaining steadiness. What do we do when they find us? Margaret smiled faintly, but the gravity of the situation pulled her expression back to the ground. Once we reach the files, we expose what they've done, but we need a plan. We need a distraction big enough to keep them off our trail. As tension built, a thought coursed through Amelia. What if we feed them misinformation? She suggested, her heart racing with the possibilities. But before anyone could respond, another noise, more footsteps behind them, sharper and closer. Quick, hide! Harold urged, and they dove behind the crates just as the door creaked open, sending a chill of dread through their bodies. As the looming figures entered, everything felt fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering. The time for truth had come, but at what cost? Would they be able to escape unscathed, or would the shadows finally catch them? An ominous silence filled the room, questions lingering in the air as they braced for impact. Heavier footsteps echoed through the room as the suited men entered, their presence dominating the dim space. Amelia's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a feral beast desperate to escape. She held her breath, panic surging through her veins. The smell of dust mixed with the oppressive tension felt like a noose tightening around her neck. Search everywhere. One of the men ordered, his voice sharp as a whip. They can't have gotten far. Amelia exchanged terrified glances with her friends as they pressed themselves further into the shadows behind the crates. The flicker of a flashlight swept across the room, illuminating the dusty remnants of what once was. A moment of silence engulfed them, leaving only the sound of their shallow breaths. "Did you hear that?" Another man whispered, tilting his head. With each passing second, dread coiled tighter in Amelia's gut. They could be found in an instant. The light resumed its dance, drawing nearer. Amelia wanted to scream, to leap out and fight, but all she could do was stay silent, frozen in fear. Her thoughts raced. What was on the other side of this nightmare? Freedom? Or despair? Then, a low chuckle sliced through the oppressive silence. "They think they can outsmart us," the figure said, admiration lacing his voice. "Let them hide for now. They're only delaying the inevitable." Brittany clutched Amelia's arm tightly, her eyes wide and fearful. "What do we do?" She whimpered, the tremor in her voice unmistakable. "Just hold on," Amelia whispered back, her own fear turning into pure determination. "We need to wait until they get distracted. Then we make our move." In that moment, fortune favored them. A sudden raucous commotion erupted from somewhere deeper in the building, followed by a shout. "Get that intruder!" A heated exchange burst into the air, voices colliding like angry waves crashing on jagged rocks. Seizing the opportunity, Amelia gestured frantically for Harold and Margaret to follow her lead. The distraction created a narrow window, the illusion of safety. They slipped from behind the crates and slunk toward a side door, praying it was locked. Margaret reached it first, testing the handle. It turned, releasing a creaking protest that echoed in the tense atmosphere. A wave of relief washed over Amelia, only to be crushed by the realization that time was the ultimate enemy. "Go, go!" she urged, her heart hammering as they slipped through the doorway and into a narrow hallway. It was too quiet now, too still. Brittany stumbled, the sound of her shoes against the floor unnerving Amelia. "Hurry!" she whispered fiercely. They moved like whispers through the shadows, pressing forward, each breath rippling with anxiety. Turning a corner, Amelia's thoughts spiraled. Where was the back door Brittany had mentioned? That promise of the files? Would they even get that far? Just ahead, a metal door stood ajar, a faint light securing their path. Without a word, they rushed toward it. A knot twisted in Amelia's stomach as she reached for the handle. Would this lead to freedom or trap them irreversibly in the web of deceit that surrounded them? As the door swung open, a high-pitched alarm pierced the air, and red lights washed over them, bathing the corridor in a menacing glow. "Run!" Amelia shouted, panic rising. They dashed into the room, hearts racing, adrenaline propelling them forward. Inside, they revealed a cavernous space filled with rows of flickering computer screens. More than just files, data, secrets. It was everything they needed. Eyes wide, they took in the enormity of it, but time was against them. Unless they worked fast, this might be their last chance if it wasn't already too late. Find the files. Margaret shouted, urgency spilling from her lips as they scattered amongst the glowing screens, but shadows loomed around them. The suited men would soon be on their tail. Each second felt like a countdown. What's next? Harold said, an edge of desperation in his voice as he rifled through papers piling up in a corner. Dig deep, Amelia replied, breathless. We need something explosive. Something that will make them pay. But just as they began to unearth a trove of information, a voice rang out behind them, cold and commanding. I wouldn't do that if I were you. They turned to face a figure emerging from the shadows, a sinister smile creeping across his face. Welcome to your endgame. Every heartbeat drummed louder. This was it. Would they finally expose the darkness they had risked everything to unveil? Or would this be the moment they lost it all? The haunting words hung like a specter in the air, creating new questions, new fears, and that foreboding thrill that told them the real game was just beginning. The atmosphere in the cavernous room became thick with dread as Amelia and the others faced the figure stepping from the shadows. A man dressed in a well-tailored suit, his posture sharp, radiated an unshakable confidence. Frank Delaney, he introduced himself coolly, a smirk playing on his lips. I oversee the cleanup crew around here. Clean up? Harold spat, anger simmering under his skin. You mean the ones who erase lives? Delaney's smile widened, revealing a hint of menace lurking beneath his charm. Clever boy, Harold. I see the whispers have been circulating. His eyes flickered to Amelia, awareness dawning like cold steel. And you brought a little choir with you. Get out of our way. Amelia shouted, the fire igniting inside her. We know what you've done. We won't let you bury the truth any longer. Ah, the truth, Delaney said with a dark chuckle. Such a slippery concept. But you've all walked into your own grave. You think you're brave? You're merely a distraction. He gestured lazily, and the room swelled with echoes of footsteps, the silent approach of his enforcers closing in from every direction. Stay together. Margaret hissed, instinctively positioning herself beside Amelia and Harold. Their hearts raced, breaths shallow but synchronized. They were outnumbered, but they had one thing Delaney didn't: knowledge of the truth. Expose us? Oh, sweetheart, the world isn't so black and white, Delaney countered, tilting his head dismissively. Do you think anyone cares about the lives sacrificed on the altar of profit? They only want results. The revelation hit Amelia like a punch in the gut. But that's what makes you weak. You trade souls for power, and there are people out there who deserve to know. People? They're all part of the machine. What do you think will happen when you shatter that illusion? It's easier to let them stay oblivious, Delaney replied, his tone dripping with icy disdain. Now, if you'll excuse me, he continued, stepping closer with an air of authority, you're going to forget this little encounter. But fear ignited courage. Not if we use your own tech against you, Amelia declared, scanning the room for tools. A terminal flashed nearby, complex yet inviting, begging for a password to unlock its treasure trove of information. Amelia. The files. Margaret urged, eyes darting. You can do this. With swelling determination inside her, Amelia rushed toward the terminal. Go. She yelled, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I just need a moment. Harold and the others positioned themselves between Amelia and Delaney, hearts racing as they created a wall of defiance. You're not stopping her. He shouted, fists clenched. Delaney sneered, assessing them. And how exactly do you plan to escape? With a flick of a switch? Just then, a quartet of men in suits appeared at the room's entrance, eyes narrowed, moving like predators seeking to trap their prey, but Amelia was focused, fingers racing as she navigated the security protocols while adrenaline coursed through her. Come on, come on. She urged quietly, willing the system to respond. Get them. Delaney ordered, dismissing the standoff. A scuffle ensued as Harold lunged forward, meeting two of the goons with fervor. Quick, decisive movements turned the dimly lit room into a frenzy of chaos. Just as Amelia's heart sank at the thought of being overwhelmed, a blaring alarm erupted from the terminal, illuminating their faces with a blood-red glow. "Yes! I've got it!" Amelia cried, adrenaline pumping as she opened files, revealing layers of corruption woven like fabric among the high-rises of Titan Industries. Names. Dates. Records of missing employees and hidden payouts, their lives torn asunder for the sake of profits. "This is what we needed. You're dead." Delaney growled, furious and turning as he witnessed the unfolding evidence flashing across the screens. A whirlwind erupted as Margaret and Brittany held back Delaney's enforcers, fear morphing into rage. It was fight or flight now, and they chose fists of fury, defending Amelia with everything they had. "Amelia, hurry!" Brittany shouted, breathless. "Almost there." Amelia replied, hands trembling yet steady. Lines of betrayal scrolled, trapped souls longing for justice, families torn apart, names long buried. Just a little more. And without hesitation, she pressed a button to release the files into the public domain. A wave of triumph washed over her, eyes gleaming with hope amid despair. Delaney's demeanor shifted, panicked rage flaring through his cold facade. "You foolish girl. You have no idea what you've just unleashed." But Amelia would not yield. Bolstered by courage, she stepped forward as the documents streamed out to the world, dampening the shadows threatening to consume them. "Maybe it's time for you to face the music, Frank," she said, determination igniting her spirit. "Your empire built on secrets is crumbling." The darkness gathered as Delaney's men fought, chaos reigning as enemies grappled, the air vibrating with desperation. With each second that passed, the mounting pressure made everything feel like a countdown to liberation or chaos. And then, just as the tide turned, the entrance burst open. More figures poured in, a mix of security and earnest faces. Former employees stirred from shadows, bravely stepping forward to join the fight. The moment had arrived. "Reveal the truth!" Someone yelled, eyes alight with rebellion. Hope surged through the hall. "We stand together." Another voice cried, Amelia, a lighthouse in the storm, realized the power of unity as the flickering images of the oppressed emerged within the crowd. They had allies now, unseen warriors demanding justice for the injured lives where silence had long prevailed. "Together!" she shouted, adrenaline sparking like fireworks. "We're rewriting the legacy of Titan. They can't bury us anymore." With an explosion of silent resolve, the atmosphere shifted, a wave of defiance washing over the crowd, embracing hope. The truth flooded free, exposing the giant's wretched core. As they pushed forward, Delaney's world unraveled before them, and the monstrous machine ground to a halt. A smile broke across Harold's face, his heart lightening. "We did this together." Amelia nodded, knowing they would forge a new path into the dawn. The shadows of Titan would linger, but now daybreak had illuminated their steps. The whispers that once haunted would now wane, replaced by the echo of truth revived, and exploring unbound potentials. And as they exited the tower for the last time, a brave band of warriors scattering into the light, the world awaited the stories that were finally free. Each heartbeat urged them onward, every breath filled with courage. They were no longer shadows, they were the dawn. Don't leave just yet. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What did you think of this ending? What's next for these brave souls? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us keep the light shining.